Wow, thank you again, Shelley, and thank you everyone for being here today. My name is Betsy Kellas. I am an artist member of Gallery Route 1 and the exhibition lead for Resilience, our 2020 member show. I'd like to tell you a little about the exhibition, and I want to make sure that I remember everything. So I've made a few notes, and I'll begin by saying that resilience, the title of our show, Resilience, has been described as the capacity to cope with stress and adversity by believing in yourself and at the same time believing in something bigger than yourself. The artist whose work you are about to see knows something about resilience. They believe in themselves and their work, and they also believe in something bigger than themselves, the mission of Gallery Route 1, which is to inspire people to experience the world in new ways through art. In 1983, Gallery Route 1 was founded by 25 artists living and working in West Marin. Now, about a third of the artists live outside West Marin in the Greater Bay Area, but it was in 1993 that the founders came together to form a collective and work closely and tirelessly to support one another and produce exhibitions that would engage and inspire the entire community. Every year, in an act of mutual support and solidarity, the artists would come together and exhibit their very best work in a member show. This tradition was seriously challenged in 2020. This year, the member show was originally scheduled for early spring, just around the time of the first shelter-in-place order, when the gallery had to close. However, by July, the gallery was up and running with virtual exhibitions, limited gallery access, and our safety protocols well in place. Thanks to the creativity and just plain hard work of the board, the staff, the artist members, and the fellows, we are now able to honor our 37-year tradition and are very pleased to present Resilience, the 2020 member show. And now I'd like to thank Tim Graveson, our videographer today. Tim will be filming the work in the gallery. And I also want to thank Morvitz, who will be speaking on behalf of the artists who could not be present today. You'll meet them both in a few minutes. And I also want to thank Shelley Rugg, who you just met, GRO's gallery coordinator, for producing and directing today's virtual reception. So now it is my very great pleasure to present the first work of art in the exhibition and our first speaker today, Shannon O'Neill Crichton. Shannon?
Hi, everyone. So nice to be here with you. To me, this is a first to be a part of the gallery. So just honored and yeah, really excited to hear about everyone else's work. So as Betsy said, my name is Shannon O'Neill Crichton, and the work that you're seeing here, the pieces on the left are titled Walnut, and then the pieces on the right are titled Maple 1 and Maple 2. As you can see, they operate as a triptych and a diptych, and these are cyanotype prints of trees, foliage, or seeds. And then there's also an actual walnut seed in the center there, and then some of the winged maple seeds that are a part of the on the right. So I'll read my statement, and that'll be it for me. I'm next. There's a little back feed, and I'm not sure if it's me or someone else, but so I'm going to go ahead and read this. Trees embody the essence of resilience. They communicate through their roots and their scent. They save seed for the future, and they humbly offer their wealth of resources. Walnut, juniper's nut, fast-growing, wide canopy, self-pollinating, offering a hardened stone fruit that holds the next generation inside. Maple, wide-leafed, hardwood, samaras, winged seeds spiraling down to the wet earth. Resilience is generosity and wisdom in motion. Watch how they share more and take less. Thank you so much. Glad to be here. Oh, am I supposed to pass it or is someone else passing it? I'm sorry. I
You
maybe
did it
missed
perfectly, Shannon.
that. Okay,
Thank
great.
you, Shannon. Hi, this is Betsy Kellas. We met earlier, and I have 4 pieces in the show today. They are all made from delivery box cardboard that I've started accumulating in March when we began to have a lot of things delivered to the house because we couldn't go out. This first piece is called Pandemic Pink. It's 24 by 20 inches, and it is cardboard with a little bit of latex paint. The second piece is called, I actually have to look at my notes. It's called 710490001. Thank you, Tim. And it also is cardboard with latex paint. And then there are 2 smaller pieces, 4E and BX7. And they are all on cradled panel. My statement is that during the past 10 months, repurposed cardboard has been both my medium of choice and my metaphor for resilience. It arrives on my doorstep, carrying things that connect me to the outside world. It sustains my creative practice, and it strengthens my belief in the power of art to transcend uncertainty, especially the uncertainty of these very uncertain times. Thank you.
Hi, and you can see that this is, we have the privilege of being in the gallery, but I'm sorry everybody can't be here and we can't have a party, a normal happy party. But basically, this consists of some salvaged architectural columns, and these are altered books with a steel rod through them so they can be a beam. And the name of this piece is Column with Book Beam. And it's I made it this spring. It was like something that happened during the midst of the pandemic. And I feel like these columns represent, you know, every time we see a shot of the Supreme Court, you see these big white columns, and I think, well, these are columns, but they're kind of shabby, and it's sort of like the state, what's happened to the state of our legal system and justice in general is a little bit shabby. Anyway, I'm going to turn the next person to talk about her work is Mimi.
You got me?
Yeah.
So this is a cast glass piece, and it's made from molds by arthritic fingers, which are digits. And so that's why it's called digitized. And these little glass sprits are like pixels. And so it's like we're working no matter what.
Right.
So,
And Mimi's going to move over to her other piece.
This piece I made when I was still playing the clarinet, and I played a lot of jazz. And the piece is called In a Mellow Tone, which is a piece by Duke Ellington. So in these times, I think we need to dance and at the same time stay mellow, like this piece.
Right.
And then over here,
Moving to the other piece.
we're all over. This piece, which might be hard to photograph, is based on Goya's The Disasters of War. And it's made up, it's another cast glass piece made up of bodies, which is what we have a lot of. both from the pandemic, wars, and refugees. It's kind of a gloomy piece. That's it. 2 minutes.
Thank you, Mimi. So I think Charles is up next. And
Hi, I'm Charles Anselmo. Yeah, Charles Anselmo, photographer at Gallery Route 1, and consider myself a documentary photographer. The work today has mostly to do with a community that exhibited a kind of failed resilience. So my piece is really about an anti-resilience in the sense that these images stem from a community that was broken by circumstance. First, a natural disaster that was followed by a lot of civic opportunism and the displacement of a significant body of people, primarily much of the Black population of New Orleans, more than 40% at the time. This piece is actually from an album in an abandoned home. I found a backpack. It was full of family photographs. These people in this album had pictures of small children who presumably would have been going to the school that was across the street. And if we pan to the other image, we see an image from the inside of that school. This is Hardin Elementary, room number 7. We see very old materials. We see materials that really date from the 50s or 60s. We see the alphabet, and of course, the natural ruin introduced by the water level. A familiar trope of images came out of New Orleans. What I tried to do is go there and go inside to interiors, because the outside was all the same color. Everything was mud. The entire landscape was brown. I went inside and I found marvelous color opportunities because I really don't work in black and white. This is one of 2 images that, actually one of 3 images that I donated to the city of New Orleans, and which ultimately found its way into the permanent collection at Tulane University. So one of many images from the school and Baptist churches, abandoned homes, abandoned apartment buildings. And this is the work that I've contributed to resilience in a sort of inversion of the word, if you will. And this is my contribution to the show. Thanks.
Hello, I'm Vikitsa, and I'm talking about my art in resilience. It's a meditation on waiting in painted life drawings. Working on a series of painted life drawings about waiting, how to learn from it, almost in the form of admonitions, how to wait. Waiting, be still and quiet has always been a real problem for me. So I'm usually doing something, just trying to shake it up and make it happen and make it better. I suffer from over-enthusiasm. And here you see Wait Now. And this was made from a life drawing and then painted in the studio. Next, you'll see my very sad Waiting to be Embraced. It's been a year. I don't think I've been touched. I haven't seen my son. I'm living with my dog and my frogs and my fish. Anyway, moving on, the next piece is Waiting for the Bubble to Burst. I think it's a thing. I always think something's going to happen and make it break or go away. And I do worry about things. I think it's also Jewish. You know, this is sometimes waiting pays off. See how good she's doing? Everything. She's got everything. I'm trying to learn to be still, to take some time to rest and be quiet. As a member of Gallery Route 1, and with the Pataphysical Society, I get lots of support and suggestions and creative interactions. And in turn, I get to support the other actions of artists, and I get to be reminded to be quiet and wait. And that's what I've got.
My turn. Hi, I'm Stephen Hurwitz, and I'm a member of Gallery 1, obviously. For me, resilience, and I think I've been practicing it for quite some time, given the fact I have a apocalyptic bend. And for me, resilience is getting in my studio and having fun. And these pieces are really like pieces to a puzzle. They started out as made of pieces that I got from the wastebasket, the the detritus of a shop, a cabinet shop. And I brought them back to my studio and started playing around with them. And then I got a little more serious about the stripes. And I've just been having a lot of fun with stripes and the color stories that they enable. I'm starting this fourth one, the one on the far right. Yeah, I'm starting to work on color stories. I used to be in the clothing business, and I used to do color stories 5 times a year for each season. And I'm starting to play around with the kinds of color stories that I used in the clothing business. So I'm probably going to do more like this. The other ones are more just exuberant and really date back more to the 40s. These are moving forward. And for me, it's about fun. It's about, I think that we all should start our day with dance. And I try and do a little dance when I get in my studio before I start working. And I put on some fun music and puts me in the right mood. So resilience for me is having a good time. Thank you.
The next work.
This is Bernie Shimke's work. They are from his, I think, Tsunami on Paper series.
A little bit of problem with the reflection of the glass, so that's why some of these are oblique. Okay, and the next work is Joe Fox, and I believe he's zooming.
Hi, everybody. I'm Joe Fox. Going into my 4th year as an artist member. These pieces mostly are just a continuation of a body of work I started in 2019, where I was casting objects and making forms in concrete, plaster, and other types of castable materials. And I was playing around with casting just a variety of sort of household types of objects that I had laying around. The piece on the pedestal is called Still Life, and it's all cast cement, various objects that I just arranged in a kind of a casual way. And it really reminded me of just being in a class as a student and having to sit in front of a arrangement of objects that the teacher would set up for us to do charcoal drawings or whatnot. But I was also interested in just the objects themselves. A lot of times they're things that are hollow, so when they're casted, they become solid. And I was kind of became more interested in this idea of the mass and the weight that you might get visually from seeing an object that normally you would recognize as being hollow or lightweight. And the other piece I have on the wall is called Into Night. And it's not super clear in the video from where I'm seeing it, but there's actually some kind of glitter. It's like a silver flake that was applied to the paint. So it has kind of a sparkly quality to it. And those are all cast plaster light bulbs with the wire in it. So they're suspended from a steel bracket on the wall. I guess I would hand it over to the next artist.
Hi, I'm Jenny Lynn Hall. I've been an artist member for just over a year. And trees for me are a symbol of resilience, as well as for Shannon. I'm always struck by the fact that they're the grandfathers of the landscape, and they really have a much longer life than we do, and just what they witness and live through in terms of changes to the landscape and to climate. I find really centering. And so when I'm feeling like I need to be centered in my own person, I often draw trees. This is called Winter Grove. It's from a sketch that I did when I was living in Italy. And I probably did it 15 years ago. And I revisited it in plaster. My work now is predominantly in plaster. So it's graphite and charcoal on top of a plaster base. And a lot of the shadow is just from the variations in the plaster. The color would get stuck down there. So it was a sketch that I always really liked, and it was just fun to go into it again. And then the other piece I did from a sketch that I made in January. It's much larger. It's 80 inches tall by about 3 feet wide, and it was a pretty minimal sketch actually. So there was a lot of interpretation in it, and it's just really working with that theme of resilience of these trees, and there's a lot of light and play. There's a lot more energy in this piece than generally there's in my work. And I think it's just because I had a lot to express this year. There's a lot of pent up energy. And I was glad to let it come out in this work. So that's what I have to say about these two pieces in the show.
So next artist is Z Morvitz.
Hi, I'm Z, and these are 3 paintings that are gouache and graphite, and cut out drawings from some time ago. I find that certain images just stick with me, and they want to show up in very my work. I'm kind of in favor of enigmatic images. I want to be surprised as much as anybody else about what they are. Also in this show are some postcards that I made. This is sort of my resilience project. I didn't know it at the time, but in January, the political situation was so dark. I thought the only way to counter that would be to send some friends postcards with a little lighter writing on the back. And then it just got darker with COVID. And so every month, I made and wrote a little something on the postcard about my experience of the time, and mostly how the natural environment that I walked around in helped me kind of cope with the darkness that I was experiencing, the fear. You can come in and you can pick up these postcards, look at them. Please wash your hands before and after. And that's it for me.
So the next artist, Mary
Eubank.
you want to read the label?
This is a mix. This is called Time and Erosion, and it's a book, plaster and mixed media, which is how Mary works a lot. Mixed media, 3-dimensional assemblages like this. And then her second piece is a painting called Yellow Tree with Book, acrylic painting. And if you know Mary's work, you know that she visited this theme a number of times, books and trees come together.
I'd like to read Mary's statement. She writes, "A sensuous relationship to the natural world is the subject. I want to imagine a replica of a landscape that is not an imitation, but a reflection of my inner response to the landscape and place."
Okay. So looks like Xander is not. Is Xander on? We can't hear that.
Yeah, Xander is not here.
Okay.
All right, these works were done by Xander earlier in his life because he's been really busy with having a baby. So he brought out work that he had done earlier that had never been shown before. This is an alligator. It's a stencil with homemade ink. He's very interested in making his own ink out of natural materials. This is Here I Stand, deer in the headlights. And this one is Inner Light. And the last one here is a lithograph. It has no title, but it's a deer.
Deer at hand. And then Igor, is Igor here? He's not.
No, go ahead with Igor, please.
All right, this one is Isolation. And the second one is called Gone. Betsy, do you have a statement?
I do. Igor writes, I was bending toward experimenting with trying my hand in the trippy new art style happening in the art world, but a sense of resilience towards a drastic change took over. As I debated, the pandemic hit, and at the same time, the California fires were spreading. A new devastating era flowed across our continent. As the news raged, my inner moody self lifted a brush and poured out on canvas what I believe we were all experiencing. And I labeled the two works Isolation and Gone.
Okay, so
Here's the
Diana is now, I see Diana's face.
Hello, I'm Diana Marto, and I'm so touched to see my dear friends in little tiny screens to the right of this computer. So thank you so much for tuning in and for checking out my gallery, our gallery. The two pieces that you'll be seeing are recent works that I did since COVID, Sheltering in Place. And as many of you know, my source is my energy and nature and Mother Gaia and sumi brush painting. So the first image, actually, I would like to go to the other one first, the one to the right. This is the smaller piece. Okay, so just as COVID hit, my partner and I were invited to spend the weekend at his brother's cabin on 20 acres of land in northern Mendocino County. Where we were was about 800 feet above the ocean, right close to a redwood forest. So I'm walking around and I'm in a complete tither and thinking that we're all going to perish any second. And I start to look at the forest and I start seeing the light coming through the trees. And all of a sudden I come alive. It's like my world has shifted. I'm alive again. I'm touching the earth and I'm seeing the sky, because where my studio was before this was in Emeryville in an enclosed space with just walls. So I decided I would bring out my sumi brush painting, my favorite BFK paper, and get to work. So I first started working on I needed to have a table or some sort of flat surface, and I saw a tree stump right at the edge of the forest, and I just put my paper right there and just started to draw the trees. So it's sumi ink, the one in black is sumi ink and iridescent oil pastel. And I have a whole series of these paintings in various sizes, and there's about 18 or 20 or 24 of them. And the thing that's so extraordinary to me was how the sunlight was coming through the forest and just suspended. It was like being in a cathedral. And sometimes one time I came out at sunset and the angle of the light was such that I thought the forest was on fire. And it was the fire of the golden sunlight setting in the west. So that's one series. And then the other series that I just began 3 weeks ago, larger pieces of paper. This one's 34 by 51 inches, dipping two sumi brushes in one hand, dipping them into my gold acrylic paint and just starting to swish and swirl. And out came this form. And then I used my sumi brushes dipped in black almost like spiritual principles to me. And then the blue of flow, and then this orange. I live very close to the beach, so I go down in the mornings and I dance with I've got about 40 feet of orange, a bolt of orange silk, which I call flying the goddess's colors. So I'm on the beach flying the goddess's colors. And to me, the goddess's colors and that hot orange are almost like the shield of a warrior. I feel that we need to have our strength and our wits about us. And we need to know that we are protected and shielded when we encounter what we're being encountered with and bombarded by on a daily basis. So I felt like when I looked at this piece, when I brought it home to my studio and could see what was being said, the symbols of it, the gold shape itself to me is like a crab, and the crab carries its home around all the time, is never homeless. So there we are. That's my message of resilience. Thank you.
So,
This is Mary Louise, and this is Chimera number 4, Mary Louise Klotz. And this one is Chimera number 1. As far as I know, chimeras are mythical beasts. So I'm not sure.
and then we have Austin.
Well, maybe Betsy. Does she have a statement?
Yes, Austin does have a statement. Marie Louise does not.
Okay, then we'll pass it along.
Right, but yeah, her photographs,
Can
hopefully
I
your
jump
photo,
in real quick with the concept of chimera?
yeah, I think,
I just want to say it's a mythical creature, but it's made up of different creatures. And so the idea is that these plants all kind of merge all different kinds of plants into one. That's all. I'll stop.
lovely. Oh, that's lovely. Thank you, Shelley. So here we see the work of Austin Buckingham. These are all monotypes. And the biggest piece is called R naught, N-A-U-G-H-T. And the smaller pieces are RNA 14, RNA 24, RNA 34, and RNA 44. And Austin's statement is, the 5 monoprint works are collectively called Case 0. R naught refers to the first traceable and identifiable infection that disperses into a community. RNA 14, RNA 24, RNA 34, and RNA 44 are fragments. RNA, the coded language, is invisible to us and yet so impactful to our lives. A microscopic structure can be stronger than us in that it can threaten our existence and change the trajectory of mankind and the planet.
Okay, so then it's Will. Is Will with us?
This is one door opens and another.
Oh, there's Will.
No, I'm here.
Great.
Hi, everybody. I'm taking an assumed name, Paula Delahanty, for this. That's actually my wife's name. But my name is Will Toms. I've been a member of the gallery for 12 years now. And this piece is one of a series that I've been working on for several years. It's 48 inches. It's 48 inches by 48 inches. It's mixed media, which is mostly paper, used recycled paper that I stain, and various other objects, plywood scraps and oxidized metal. And it's called One Door Closes and Another Opens. So I guess I would say this is all about possibility, this painting. I've worked on it for a couple of years. It's on and off, mostly off, but I did finish it this year. And to me, I think of a program that I would watch with my parents, the Ed Sullivan Show, when I was a kid. And they would have these performers come on and they'd be spinning plates on these long flexible poles, running around, spinning these plates. They would be way up on the pole. And the idea was to keep them all spinning at the same time. Sometimes they would come crashing down. But when they would get all spinning at the same time, that was a really beautiful thing. And that's the way I think about this painting. I finally got them all spinning at the same time. So that's my 2 minutes. Thank you very much.
Is Steve with us?
No.
Okay.
Okay, so we have resilience, this one, and perseverance.
Right. And I do have a statement from Steve. He says, I have 2 paintings in the group show. One is titled Perseverance, which is the ability to keep doing something in spite of obstacles. The other titled Resilience, which is adapting well in the face of adversity.
I see a red dot in the smaller one. So congratulations to Steve. Okay, so then Annie Duncan, is she with us?
Yes.
Hi. Hi, I'm Annie Duncan. And so I have a wall of prints here, and they're all relief prints. So they're linoleum carvings, and they're multi-layer, multicolor prints. And so in this collection of prints, I was thinking about the resilience of memory over time, and how a memory looks when you look back on it. And so these are kind of weaving together personal narrative, collage memories, and imagined landscapes. And I'm kind of thinking about capturing the ephemeral, reflection, light, and transparency, and color relationship, and really making it concrete in these images. So that's a little bit about the work. And I'm so glad I could catch the end of this reception. I'm so excited.
Thank you, Annie. So
Thank
then
you.
Bruce.
Am I unmuted now?
Yes, you are.
Okay. Bruce Mitchell, artist member for I forget how many years, but it feels like lots of fun and still does. I'd like to read my statement. First, I'll describe this piece. I work on a number of pieces simultaneously, and sometimes I'll forget about one for 2-3 years, and this is one of those. And when the title of the member show was presented to everyone, this piece just caught my attention, and I started working on it, reshaping. And it's really about dancing, which is one of those rituals that is common to every civilization on this planet. And as resilience goes, here my statement is, I see resilience as a cumulative reward for taking nourishment from all those daily rituals that give me a sense of physical and mental well-being. My practice as a wood sculptor is perhaps the most important of those rituals, because during the extended moment of creative energy that happens in the development of a piece, there are surprises that are a source of excitement, learning, and encouragement. Those moments are a major part of the tempering process that defines the resilience my life wants to have. And I want to say the title, Still Dancing, is kind of a take on Elton John's song, I'm Still Standing After All These Years, I think the lyric goes. And this piece suggests a skirt that is being worn by a dancer who you don't see, but is suggested in the form. And it's in motion, and that's the whole idea of the piece, is to keep looking at it from different sides, because it wants you to stay in motion along with it. And so I'm really excited to be in this show, and I want to thank everyone for their contributions and everything they've said about their work today. And I'm looking forward to hearing from the rest of you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, that was fantastic. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. The exhibition will be up through January 17th, so please visit the gallery to see the works in person. The gallery is open Thursday through Sunday, 11 to 5, and we are following the pandemic guidelines for retail, so be sure to wear your mask when you come. If you were moved by today's presentation and want to support the work that Gallery Route 1 does to bring art to the community, then please visit our website and make a donation today. Make a note in the comments that your donation is because of our virtual opening reception. And thanks again for coming, and we hope to see you at our next virtual opening reception. And before I say a final goodbye, I just want to acknowledge the beautiful installation of the work that was done by Mary and Will. And the idea of putting the artist names up on the walls from Charles is just beautiful. And Betsy, for your excellent leadership in this exhibition. And to share with all of you artists that I really fell in love with all of you through this exhibition and reading some of your statements of resilience. And so if you haven't read them, you can go to our website and you'll see a lot of the statements there, and it's really wonderful to read those. Thanks again, everybody, for coming. We'll see you next time.